Alright, so in this video we're just going to take two sine and two cosine graphs and kind of go through the steps to graphing, hopefully to clear up any confusion that there might be. So the first thing you want to do is go through and list out your properties for any graph. How you find them is the exact same, no matter if it's a sine or a cosine. We're going to go through. Amplitude is the first number you see, it's your A. So my amplitude on this graph is 2. Period I've put up here is 2 pi over b. B is the number in front of x, so x doesn't come with it. So my period, 2 pi over 2, gives me 1 pi. Vertical shift is the last number you see. It's on the outside of the parentheses. So plus 2 means we go up 2. Then my phase shift, I've also put that up here, is negative c over b, and that will take care of the direction for you. So because c is negative pi, a negative pi makes it positive pi over b, which is 2. So I have a phase shift of moving to the right, pi over 2. So now we're going to plot these points, take care of your shifts, and also take care of your period at the same time. So we go through and we make our 4 increments. That means this is pi. Half of that is pi over 2. So now because I have a phase shift moving to the right, pi over 2, I'm technically going over 2 increments. Some people want to make that first one pi over 2, and then your period is just tough to deal with. So we've got a vertical shift of 2, so over pi over 2 up 2. That's my new origin. But because I'm graphing sine, that is a point on this graph. If I was doing cosine, that origin would not be a point. Then we'll take care of my amplitude. So because it's 2, I'm going to go down 2 units to the x-axis, up 2 units to 4. And now I'm going to move pi units from pi over 2. So you could do it algebraically. We could say, okay, we're at pi over 2, and we're going to add 1 pi to that. Well, common denominator makes it 2 pi over 2, which tells me I'm going to stop at 3 pi over 2. Or you could say, okay, because I have my 4 intervals here to make up my 1 full period, from my starting point, I'm going to move 4 more tick marks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We also know that this is now 3 pi over 2. So my last point always falls in the same position to complete the period. For sine, halfway between it falls in a line. Then halfway between those points, you look to your equation, positive, so we're going to go up to the maximum. Halfway between, we're going to go down to the minimum. Connect your points, and there's your graph. So I'll zoom in there. Now we've got a cosine, so I'm going to go through the properties pretty quickly. Amplitude is 3. Period is 2 pi over pi, which is 2. Vertical shift is down 1. And then my phase shift is going to be to the left 4 units because it's 4 pi over pi. So now when I do this, I'm going to go through and I'm going to say, okay, I'm moving to the left 4 units. Now, if we want to go through and make each tick mark 1/2, we can, but that's going to be a whole lot of tick marks to get to 4. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make each tick mark 1 and just pay attention to my period. So -4, we're going to go down 1. That is my new origin. And I put a little X there because that is not a point on my cosine graph. So you have to be careful you pay attention to the fact that it's cosine. Because it's a positive, I know I'm going to be going above my origin. Amplitude is 3. So that means from my new starting point, I'm going to go up 3. Well, I was at -1. That tells me I'm going to go all the way up to positive 2. And if I travel my complete period, well, we've got a period of 2. So from -4, if I add 2 to that, I get to -2. That's where I'm going to stop. So we have to match my starting and stopping point. Now, because we have a vertical shift of -1 and an amplitude of 3, this graph's going to go all the way down to -4. That minimum point occurs halfway between your periods. So at -3, I'm going into the other problem. We're going to hit my minimum. At -2.5, we're going to hit a 0, but in this problem, that 0 occurs at -1 because of that vertical shift. That's my new x-axis. -3.5, we're going to hit that 0 again. Go through, connect your points, and there's your graph. Alright, we got 2 more. So sine, we've got an amplitude of 1. It's negative, so if you want to put a little note there, you can. Period 2 pi over 1 gives me 2 pi. Vertical shift of down 1, and then a phase shift of left 4 pi. So I'm going to go through. I'm going to do pretty much the same process. So there is my -4 pi. We're also going to go down 1. So that is my new origin, but it's sine. So that's a point. That's my starting point. Period is 2 pi. So I'm going to stop at negative 2 pi. Halfway between at negative 3 pi, it's going to change direction. So the sine, they all fall in a line. Amplitude is 1, so we're going to go all the way up to the x-axis, all the way down to negative 2. So everything's going to fall between these two lines. It's a negative sign, so I'm going to start by going down to the minimum, then up to my maximum. And there's my sketch of the graph. And then the last one, we got another cosine. Amplitude is 2. It's also negative. Period is 2 pi again, 2 pi over 1. Vertical shift, this time we have up 3. And then a phase shift, we've got to the right 2 pi. So we're going to sketch this out. I'm going to go ahead and make each increment pi over 2. So here's 1 pi. So we are going to move to the right 2 pi and up 3. I'm going to have to make this smaller. That's my new origin, but you have to be careful because it's cosine once again. So sometimes I go through and I do all the sines first, and then I go back and do the cosine graphs. Amplitude is negative 2, so instead of going up to positive 5 first, we're going to go actually down to negative 1 to put my starting point because it's been flipped. Period of 2 pi. So I'm going to do 4 more tick marks, and that's going to get me to 4 pi. That's also going to fall at positive 1. At 3 pi is where it's going to hit its maximum, which because my amplitude was 2 units above 3 gets me all the way up to 5. Then halfway between, so at 2.5 pi, we're going to hit my 0, which occurs at positive 3. 3.5, we're also going to hit that 0. And there is a rough sketch of your graph.